Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a research paper that sounds like it's pulled straight from a sci-fi movie. It introduces an AI system that can actually conduct its own scientific research and discover things that humans hadn't even thought to look for. So let's just start with this question. We all know AIs can follow instructions, right? They can crunch data like nobody's business. But what if they could do more? What if an AI could have its own creative breakthrough? Its own eureka moment, just like a human scientist? That question really gets at a huge paradox in AI right now. On one hand, you have the AI systems themselves, and their capabilities are just skyrocketing, growing exponentially. But on the other hand, the actual research that creates these systems, well, that's still stuck moving at a much slower, linear, human pace. And this mismatch, it creates what the researchers behind this paper call the human bottleneck. Basically, progress is starting to hit a wall. And it's not because our AIs aren't powerful enough, it's because we, the humans, just can't keep up. So the real roadblock for innovation, as this paper argues, isn't a lack of computing power. We've got plenty of that. No, the problem is our own limited human bandwidth. We literally cannot think up new ideas as fast as our own creations can learn them. And that's a major problem for the whole field. Okay, so to try and smash through this bottleneck, a team of researchers built something entirely new. A system they've named ASI-ARCH. Let's break down what this actually is. ASI-ARCH stands for Artificial Superintelligence for AI Research. But the key thing here is that it's not just another tool to help people do science. No, it's designed to be the scientist. It's a fully autonomous system that can run the entire scientific process, from start to finish, all by itself. And this is a really huge shift in thinking. See, older methods were basically optimizers. They were great at searching for the best answer, but only within a playground that humans had already built and defined for them. ASI-ARCH is different. It's an innovator. It can come up with its own hypotheses and test ideas that are completely outside of what humans had even imagined. So how in the world does an AI actually, do science? Well, the best way to think about it is like a tiny, super efficient research team that just never sleeps. It's working 24/7. The whole thing works in this closed loop, and it's powered by 3 specialized AI agents. First, you have a researcher AI that dreams up a new idea. Then, an engineer AI takes that idea, builds it in code, and runs the experiment. And finally, an analyst AI looks at the results, figures out what they mean, and that knowledge feeds right back to the researcher to start the whole cycle over again. So you've got this creative engine, the builder, and the synthesizer, all working together in this relentless loop of proposing, testing, and learning. But that brings up a pretty big question. How does the system know if an idea is any good? That's where something called a fitness function comes into play. You can basically think of it as the system's own rule for natural selection. It's the law that decides which of the AI's designs get to survive and influence the next generation of ideas. It gives the whole system a clear target to aim for. And this is one of the most brilliant parts of the whole setup. See, past systems only cared about the numbers, the raw performance scores. But ASI-ARCH's fitness function is different. It also brings in a qualitative score from another AI, an LLM judge, that actually looks at the creativity, the elegance, and the quality of the design itself. So it's not just about what works best, it's also about what's designed best. And this whole incredible process, it led to a result that was so surprising, so genuinely out of left field, that its own creator has had to compare it to a legendary moment in the history of AI. This quote really nails it. The AI didn't just find slightly better answers. It found answers that challenge our assumptions and push us into totally new territory. They compare it to the famous Move 37 back in 2016, when the AlphaGo AI made a chess move that was so beautiful, so creative, and so alien that it changed how humans thought about the game forever. They're arguing that this AI had its own Move 37 moment. So what did that moment actually look like? Well, the team basically just set the system loose, and on its own, it designed and conducted 1,773 unique experiments, each one a brand new hypothesis, being tested in its own little virtual lab. Now, this was a massive, massive undertaking. To run all of those experiments, the system chewed through an unbelievable 20,000 hours of GPU computing time. I mean, that's more than 2 full years of nonstop computation on a single, really powerful processor. And the result of all that effort? The big payoff? From those thousands of experiments, ASI-ARCH discovered 106 completely novel, state-of-the-art AI architectures. These were designs that were totally unknown to the human researchers before this. And what's just mind-bending is that the system actually documented its own creative process. It generated what the researchers call a family tree of ideas, showing exactly how its designs evolved, branching off from each other to create entirely new species of AI architectures all by itself. But here is the real kicker, the most crucial point. These AI-discovered designs weren't just new and interesting. They were flat out better. When they were tested on a bunch of common-sense reasoning tasks, the AI's architectures consistently outperformed the ones designed by humans. The benchmark scores don't lie. This achievement is incredible, and it reveals something really profound. Not just about AI, but maybe about the future of science itself. The researchers found this really strong, direct link. It was simple. The more computational power they gave the system, the more breakthrough discoveries it made. The trend was crystal clear. More compute equals more science. And this led them to propose what could be the very first scaling law of discovery. The implications here are, well, they're staggering. What this means is that scientific progress, at least in this area, is no longer just limited by those random, unpredictable flashes of human genius. It can now be systematically scaled up, accelerated, just by adding more computer chips. So the ultimate takeaway here is that the very nature of innovation is changing right before our eyes. It's becoming a process that AI can not only participate in, but actively speed up on its own. And that leaves us with one last really powerful question to think about. If an AI can now accelerate its own path of discovery, what happens next?